Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here. I hope that you will learn something new today. We're going to talk about Japanese gardens and landscapes. So this program is based on my experience. I went to Japan about 2 years ago, and the area that we visited was roughly what's circled there. Japan is a volcano. They have 50 volcanoes that they monitor. Most of them are above Tokyo, here's Tokyo, and down here. This part in the middle where Kyoto is flat, it's a plain, and that's where Kyoto used to be the capital, and I thought that was very smart to have it away from volcanoes. But now Tokyo is the capital, and Mount Fuji is in Tokyo. So I don't know what happened to their smart part, but so we're going to be talking about that area. When you look at Japanese gardens, and these are formal or in their yard or in an arboretum, they focus on the things that are in nature. You're not going to find a little garden gnome anywhere, right? You're going to find stones, water, and plants. The colors are going to be natural colors. It's going to be simple, and they're going to capitalize on texture. So they're not just going to be one plant. It's going to be 2 plants or 3 or a lot, and there'll be lots of different textures involved. So first we're going to go through each of them, and we'll start with the stones. Stones represent mountains. So it can be a boulder, it can be a rock, it can be a stone, it can be a pebble, but always in their way of thinking, it has to do with the mountains. They represent the mountains. They are used to create paths, and all the way down to sand, where they give structure to things and hold things together with the sand. So here's some of our mountains in Japan. This is what you see a lot. Like these pictures we took. There's Alps, which I think is kind of cool. And the Alps are not where the big skiing is, which is way up north. So these are all cemeteries. I thought it was fascinating that they had a cemetery in the city. The bottom picture, we were on a train and we were passing by it. And if you notice, when we have cemeteries here, there's little flat nameplates on the ground, and there's medium size and there's tall. But I don't think of the cemeteries here as representing mountains, right? It's like, this is just, the bigger it is, the more money they had to remember their person, But there, the cemeteries really are, those stones are really representing mountains. Height, okay? The first one you see with the little red, those are either caps or capes that are put around little statues of, sometimes they're supposed to be little people, and sometimes they're animals. So they have 2 religions that are celebrated side by side, Buddhism and Shinto. And Buddhists have temples, and Shinto have shrines. And their shrines anywhere. You walk through a bridge, a road bridge, you get to the other side and there's a little Shinto shrine. Or you're going up a mountain, a Buddhist mountain, to get to a Buddhist monastery, and there's Shinto shrines all the way up. It's so fascinating. The other thing quickly about Shinto and Buddhism, Shinto seem to be orange things, and Buddhists favor the red. That's my experience. It took me a long time to figure that out. I worked on that the whole time we were there. Anyways, so these are just to show you that all the way to death, mountains are in their mind. Pictures of paths, we have these here too, but that first picture is actually a path. You actually hike through there with those gigantic boulders. That's just part of the path. So you get all the way down to the little tiny pebbles, or medium size or gigantic. I want you to really look at this picture. This is fascinating to me. So they use sand, as I said, to hold the structure together. So the first picture is it's along a very, very busy road, and they're doing some erosion work, but it's not just throw up some plants that are going to help hold the soil in place, right? It's all very, very thought out, very planned. So the bridge work that's there is going to be holding beautiful structure. The bottom one, I don't know if you can see the brown base. There's water, that's a waterfall in the back. And they actually made the bottom of the river, they structured it. All those pebbles that work down there, they're not really pebbles, it's like round rocks. Those were all put in place, held together with the sand for the structure, which then makes you go to that street. Look at that street. That's mind-blowing to me. And cars drive on that street, and it's not big enough for two cars, even though it's a two-way street. And they actually have, I gotta go over here and show you this, they have poles in the middle of the road, so the cars stop, and one goes through, and then the other one goes through, because you can barely fit one, let alone two. And this is just normal. But I'm mostly blown away by the beauty of that street. The care, if you look at those bricks individually, you can see they're obviously not all the same size, but they are put together with this long-term goal of just beauty. That was pretty amazing. And this last picture is a path that leads through woods, and it is so ancient. This is how they used to deliver mail. They didn't really call it mail, but this was the delivery route from one city to the next. And the steps with the stones and with the sand in the middle or in between. The next thing we'll talk about is water. It represents the flow of life. It helps you recall the serenity of the ocean, and it invites reflection. And I highlight clean because I have never in my life seen cleaner water anywhere. All the time, everywhere you go. Japan, in my experience, was insanely clean. Any time you were by fresh water, you thought, I could probably drink that. Like it didn't have stuff floating in it. Like, I mean, I'm talking like not a leaf, not a little stick, nothing. It was all incredibly clean. So these are some natural waterfalls. They're very popular, like waterfalls are popular here, but it's very quiet there. When there's a lot of tourists, you don't know there are a lot of tourists, unless they're not from Japan. They don't talk loud. They don't talk on buses and trains. There's even signs that remind you, do not talk. Don't talk to your neighbor, don't talk to your spouse. Shh, right? It's very quiet. They don't have music in malls. It's all quiet. Very strange for us, I think. These are man-made. That first one is in Tokyo. It's called Philosopher's Path, and it's all flowing. Even if they have to elevate part of it to make it flow, it's all flowing. And look, the water is, you can see straight to the bottom, and I love the middle one. It's just like this pipe. And then this one at the end, we stood on that bridge and could see right to the bottom. Nothing is in the water. It just kind of blows my mind. So there's the flow that we talked about, and now here's some pictures that help represent the serenity that they see in the water. Some more pictures of representing serenity. So they capitalize on space. We'll get into much more in depth. But that last picture, if you can look very closely at like 10 and 11 o'clock, those little fish in there, see those little tiny fish? This pot was next to the front door of somebody's home. Like they had like 4 little pots there. And even there was no yard. It was just the door and the stoop. And this was on the stoop. And they're got the water, they've got the plant, right? Everywhere they are, they focus on those elements. I think serenity and reflection kind of go together. That first picture, it was interesting. we were hiking and all these people were getting in line and we're like, what's over there? And we don't speak Japanese, right? So we're over there and we're watching, and now we're ushered through this little place where you have to pay some yen, which is very small amount of money. And we paid some yen, and now we're walking down this muddy path, and we're through these woods, and everybody is now stopped at the water's edge, and everyone's looking at that. And I'm like, we paid some yen to look at this tree. It was very interesting to me, but they were reflecting. They were standing there just reflecting. This next one is in a Japanese touristy part of Japan called Miyajima, and this is a Shinto shrine, and it's orange. You got the mountains, you got the water, you've got your orange, you've got your trees in the background, and this spot was mobbed. This is where Japanese people go for vacation, okay? And it was like smush room only, and you could hear a pin drop. Nobody was talking. It's fascinating. Some more water for reflection. I wanted to compare how we have pools of water, for in the middle of malls or at places. They have chairs by them for reflection. They have, I wanted to ask somebody if they actually put the boulders there on purpose or if that was like natural, because I could believe that they would do that. The bottom picture, you've got a nice example, even though that's not why I put it here, of the texture differences, right? And this is a man-made section right here, that bottom picture on the left. But all for reflection. We took a hike, and there was a little, it looked like a tea house, but it was no longer used as a tea house. And there was a gentleman in there, maybe he was in his 30s, and he was just in there, like meditating on the water in the pond that was right there. And I just thought that was not something we see. Okay, now we'll talk about plants. Plants offer many things: color, sound, texture for sure, and movement. And some of the very important plants to them would be bamboo, maple, pine, the flowering trees. Right now it's cherry blossom time, and food. So the bamboo, of course, it offers color, it offers texture. It's very unique compared to other plants. And sound, we were in that, actually we were all of these, but we were here, and the wind blowing through the bamboo offered such an amazing sound, so that you knew, oh yeah, I could see why they would consider this a sound element. Bamboo offers more than that too, structure. So bamboo's very light, it's very fast growing, it's very flexible. So I love that first picture, how it's so beautiful. Do you not think this is a beautiful way of supporting and strapping something together rather than, I don't know, some ugly method? They use bamboo a lot for supports, for trellises, for fencing. This last picture, this is in the middle of downtown. I just think it's so attractive. It offers texture, the color difference. You got your stones for your mountain, the sand. I mean, this is just a sidewalk. It's amazing. This one was beautiful. I loved how they used it for, this is a wall, even though it doesn't look like a wall, it's a wall just like this is, for support. And then they take thin strips of the bamboo and they make these sweet little arches also for support. They use bamboo for tools. That ladder, we're guessing, my husband and I are guessing 15 feet. He's carrying it by himself. So it's light, but it's sturdy. And the other gentleman is using a broom, a bamboo broom. I don't have a lot to say about maple. You all probably know how beautiful maple is, and they know how beautiful maple is. It's prevalent in natural settings, and I like to show you this because the top one is an arboretum, and we'll talk about that, those cone things over on the left-hand side. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I want you to notice them because then you'll understand a little bit more. I love to show you these pictures from the standpoint of purposeful planting. So the bottom picture here is from a castle, from the way upper floors of a castle. And you can see how in the plan of the city, there was some purposeful choices. Look at all the different colors. Pines and evergreens are very prevalent in nature, of course, but they also, oh, look at how beautiful that first tree is. Ah, I love it. And the waterfall, you saw that picture before, but I wanted you to take a look at the trees that are around it. It's also prevalent in homemade gardens. That is one of the castles, and you see the pine in the front. The next one is a Zen garden, and you can see the meticulously pruned tree there. So we were walking through past this guy, and I'm like, what is he doing up there? And I'm staring and staring and staring and staring, and I'm like, what? Like he's moving and moving, but nothing's happening. And all of a sudden, I saw 3 pine needles float to the ground. That's how detailed they are when they prune. I mean, and that's, you'll see more pictures of it. They're up in bucket ladders, but then because they prune like that, you get structures like this, right? So beautiful, so detailed. We talked about flowers. That top tree has 1 flower on it. Do you see it? Right? Nothing is discarded lightly. Everything is, if it's getting thrown away, it's purposefully chosen to be thrown away. This picture, this other top picture, does it look like just like a arm and then a little branch sticking out of the top? Because that's what it is. I did not understand why that was there. We would never have that stay, right? We dig that guy out and put something new in that spot. Oh no, not them. And look at this one. It looks a mess, right? It looks a mess. And it's got all these major big supports trying to hold it up. You can't tell if it's even gonna grow anything, a leaf next year, right? It's like everything gets a second chance, and they make it as beautiful as they can to give it a second chance. But that was very interesting to me because you see the beautiful road and you see these beautiful trees, and then you see these other trees that's like, what is happening here? It's respect for the ancient is the way I can understand it. The bottom on the left is a sign that explains that it was a plum grove where we were, a whole grove just plums. And that was like in the middle of what looked like a forest. Like, huh, how'd that happen? Okay, let's talk about food. So those are cantaloupes. They have department stores like that. The bottom floor of a department store is a grocery store. They don't call them grocery stores, they're just department stores, and that's where it is. And the whole floor is any kind of food. It can be prepared foods like at a butcher shop, that kind of thing, or it could be bakeries. That was a really cool, interesting experience. But so cantaloupes, food in general, it's a foodie's paradise in a way. That third cantaloupe, just going to double check, was 32,400 yen. There's a big difference in conversion, but what that equals is approximately $216 for that cantaloupe. So they judge their cantaloupe on sweetness, and they have a way of testing what the sweetness is going to be. And so, of course, that one is supposed to be perfect. And the time it's harvested, and you see how the stems are cut, it's all like art and beauty. I couldn't eat a $216 cantaloupe because I don't appreciate cantaloupe. Chocolate maybe, but not a cantaloupe. The next picture is a picture of kiwi, and that tree was growing over the road. I'm like, wow. And it didn't look like it was in anybody's yard. It was just over the road. Bottom picture, I just want to show you these are similar things that we have here, is why I have this picture up. The bottom one are some allium. There's greens in the middle, and I really picked that picture because there's a bunch of holes in it from insects. So they do have insect issues over there. And then the last one is a pomegranate tree. And rice. We need to talk a lot about rice. So it wasn't very long ago that people in Japan used to grow the amount of rice they would need for a year for their family. Many people still do that. They don't have space typically in their yard because a lot of them don't have any yards, right? But they might have a plot of land out somewhere, and they would take care of it that way. So that top picture, the first one, we were on a hike, and going into the woods, you see at the very end, that's going into the woods, but we're walking past a rice field, and it's layered, what's it, trellised? Isn't that what it's called? Terrace, thank you. I knew it began with a T. And some of the sections are just harvested. Some of them are just growing, which I thought was really smart. It's like succession planting your green beans, except they do it with rice. This is this picture here of the rice. This is how after it's harvested, that's how it's put out to dry. Okay, and this is the next one, except it's far from ready. So then they also have another one, and there are different stages of completion. The bottom picture, that's from a train, and you can see the same thing, where they just harvested one area, and it's basically like mud or cut down to the bottom, and then the next two are getting primed to be ready to be harvested. The top picture is another really great picture to show that succession with the rice. And this town that we're in here is called Shirakawa-go. They have a little bit of land, not a lot. They have a yard as big as normal bungalow yard in Wycliffe or Willowick, something like that, right? And that's their yard. The whole yard is their rice patch, right? This is another house in Shirakawa-go, and they just harvested. So now they've plowed. Land is prime real estate. It's hard to come by. So the things that I've noticed that they value, right? Space, life, the ancient, details, supported beauty, and cleanliness. Space. Space is precious. So that orange house, that was in Kyoto, they had more than, so that those trees are all in that person's property, And they are literally butted up against the house. And between the house and that fence, there's just those trees, right? Forget that air circulation stuff that we always talk about. They just have it crammed in there. That's it. That's his whole yard, those trees. The second picture is that person's yard. That's it. That's normal. That's what you normally see. The horsetail up at the top, that's their yard. That's all they have growing on their property, because that's it. That's all the soil they have. The bottom one is Kyoto again. That's a street, and look at that poor little tree. I will survive, right? That's it. That's all they have. That's their yard. And the bottom one, it looks so much more expansive, but it's super narrow. This tree, they have right here, and it's trellis tied up, and that's their yard. So, beautiful, right? It's like they want it to be beautiful. It doesn't matter how big it is. They're still focused on the beauty, which I think is great. Life is treasured. So they're super clean, but doggone, they're going to leave those flowers there, right? I love that. And they're gorgeous. Take a look at the first tree. Talk about a root flare, a trunk flare, right? I mean, and that's ancient. Ancient. They don't have a lot of grass either. Did we talk about that at all? I don't think we did. Moss. So much of the soil is covered with moss. Even when you go to arboretums and stuff, there's grass at some places, but mostly it's moss. The top one, that's a tree branch, and the fern are growing down out of the tree over the road. Okay, ancient. Take a look at these tree trunks. I think it's amazing. This one, which you really can't see, you can't tell, they actually have a mesh screen in the hole, like to block stuff from going in. I don't know if it's animals. I'm not sure why they did it. But you see all the moss in these pictures as well, right? And that middle picture, a lot of these pictures, I don't know that they would be standing here. I think that somebody in the arboretum would say, oh, that's dangerous, cut it down, or we could do better, that tree looks ridiculous, and cut it down. Those are all valued. So here's an example. See if you can see this guy. Here's his legs. Okay? So he went up here, and then he went up here, and he's trimming. Now he's aggressive. Like his are more than just 3 needles in one clump. Probably because he's scared and he wants to come down. Yeah. So, but this is normal, and it's on a drop cloth because he's working by himself, right? He's going to clean all that up by himself. The other picture, I was fascinated with this. It's called daisugi. Daisugi. And it's a form of raising lumber so that you don't have to deforest an area, okay? So these trees down here look normal when you're walking by, and then these big tall things are allowed to grow. They prune them. It's a 600-year-old technique, roughly. They prune them every 2 to 4 years. The trunks that come up out of them are 140 times more flexible and 200 times stronger than if you were to just take them down at the forest, like when it grows one time. They harvest them like this for 200 to 300 years, and then the tree is exhausted. Okay? And the reason why they started doing this was because it's very hard. Remember, it's volcano, very rocky, not really great soil. So it's hard to grow new trees. So in, 1400s, I think, there was a technique for building samurai homes that demanded straight, strong wood, and they didn't have enough. So they developed this technique, and I don't know talk about patience. I don't know how that whole thing developed, but I just know that that's the creation of it. And so they still do this, and this was in an arboretum. This was way in the back of the arboretum when we were turning around and coming out the front. And I'm like, what is happening here? This is when you're a gardener versus not. My husband's walking by. I'm like, would you stop and look at this? This is crazy. But the trees are planted very close to each other, like maybe 5 feet apart. And there's just rows of them in both directions. And they have all these crazy shoots shooting out the top of them. So it's Dayazugi. Okay, so here's some more of the trimming. The first one, oh yeah, there's the ladder. I knew there was a ladder there somewhere. So they're up there. And then the second one, they've got a bucket truck. And he's a little more aggressive. And then the last one is in the city, in the downtown area. And I like the big hedge trimmer, but I also notice he's got the little snips in his pocket for the details. So giving support, remember, they value the ancient, but they also respect the fact that some things need support. And if you take a look at that first one, it's almost as if there's more support poles everywhere than there are tree branches or tree trunks. And the second one is just a picture of, again, what I think is just a beautiful way of attaching a support. Okay, remember I told you to pay attention to that string that we saw at the beginning? It's on page 20 or screen 22. And I said we talk about it later. So those are supports. They put those out in October because of the winter that's coming. And they're over some tree or plant that needs protection from the heavy snows. Okay? So that's how they do it. They have this massive bundle. There's one behind the gentleman with the hard hat. It's tied up. It's not open yet. See it? It's a rope with a bunch of ropes inside of it. So they take this bundle of rope and they have it wrapped around a lot with more rope. And then after they get it all lined out, they have two guys. It's just like they were putting train tracks down. They have these sledgehammers and they beat the living daylight out of that tight, the part that's wound. And everybody, this is something that people don't get to see because a lot of Japanese were stopping and watching as well. And I wish somebody could speak English, but they couldn't because I wanted to know more. But how I understood it is they're crushing and tightening the rope so it doesn't slip while it's going to be up there coming down to support those ropes. Support. The top one too, a different tree, but it's in the water, on the land. The supports are everywhere. This is the backside of that tree we saw last time. Okay, so I was on the other side, so you see all the supports. I'm guessing this is where that rope is going to go, on that really tall one. I did not get to see them put the ropes up. Cleanliness. All right. Top picture. Do you see all those people? They are sitting there picking up needle by needle and leaf by leaf the stuff that has been trimmed. And if you look at that little stoned area, when they're done, all those leaves are picked up. Every single thing is picked up. So the moss looks like it was vacuumed. The bottom, I watched those two gentlemen, they are sweeping the leaves out of the water. They were there for a really long time. I mean, we came, left, came back, they're still sweeping. More cleanliness counts. Okay, top picture. It's entering Emperor's Garden. The middle picture is in Kyoto. The top end picture also, that's about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. She's sweeping the street. The middle picture up at the top, you see anything on the ground? Take a look at the Lawsons. Look at the parking lot. It looks like somebody power washed that parking lot. There's no cigarette butts, and there's a lot of smoking in Japan. The whole time we were there, I never saw a cigarette butt, ever. And I don't I'm not a fan, I'm pretty sensitive to it, and I would see it because that's how I am. None. This is a big touristy area on the bottom, and there's an art museum. It's a huge square, and nothing anywhere. And you know what else isn't in any of those pictures? Garbage cans. Because they don't use garbage cans. If you have garbage, you bring it home. You pack it in, pack it out on a hike. You pack it in, pack it out everywhere you go in Japan. We saw 7-Eleven. So I'm gluten-free. Short story. I'm gluten-free. There's not a lot of places to have gluten-free food. So 7-Elevens are very, very popular in Japan, and they have amazing food. And it's easy to find gluten-free things in 7-Elevens. We ate 2 meals a day in 7-Elevens, okay? And we were at one 7-Eleven that had a garbage can. And so the idea is you buy your food. If you're gonna eat it, you eat it right there, and you throw your garbage away right there. If you go to dinner, so at dinner, so they show, I don't know if you've ever seen, but there'll be a whole strip of little restaurants, tiny, like 8 people or 12 people can fit in them. And they have some to-go things. If you get to go, you eat it standing up right there, and then you give them your garbage. Right? That's one reason, no garbage cans tipping over, nothing's flying around, because there are no garbage cans. We were on one train that had a garbage facility as you were leaving the train by the door. One train. We were on a gazillion trains, and we saw one train that had a garbage dispenser there. So the cleanliness is really unbelievable. Beauty everywhere. So they do see beauty everywhere. And do you know what these are? Say it. What'd you say? Yeah. They're manhole covers. Oh my God. And when you go to different towns or different areas, they have specific manhole covers for those areas, right? So they have a lot of castles that are national treasures. And so the top one on both sides, those are from 2 different castles. So all of the manhole covers, not just by the castle, but in the city that castle is in, will have matching manhole covers. The bottom one on the left-hand side was those thick roofs. That's from that little town I told you, Shirakawa-go. They actually, all the houses have 2-foot deep thatch roofs. Okay, so that's why the roofs are thick like that. And then the one on this side, I don't remember what the middle 2 are, I'm sorry, but the one on this side, there's deer, because there's a city called Nara, and it has wild deer that just walk freely all over the town. And so they, of course, have deer on their manhole covers. So to me, everything should be beautiful in Japan, right down to the street. About this time, started getting very homesick, looking for some food that I didn't have to worry had gluten in it, stuff like that. And I found great comfort in plants. Because surprisingly enough, I was very, very surprised by this. Many of the plants, many of the flowers were the same flowers we had here. They're on the close to where we are as far as Cleveland and the Tokyo area. They're a little warmer. In general, all of the place where we visited in that circle that we talked about is between 6 and 14 degrees warmer than we are. So all the plants were happy. You got your morning glory, you got your, those are the onions over there. You've got cosmos, sunflowers, dahlias, gomphrena, mums. Mums were, so we went in September and October. Mums were everywhere. And they had flower shops that were as big as a closet. Like there'd be a strip of stores and there'd be a flower shop. And literally, it was like as big as that double-doored closet back there. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And it was beautiful, gorgeous, all full of different cute things, many layers, taking advantage of the space. Similar practices. So you got the rototiller in the first one, and I know there's the big fight of do we no-tiller till, right? But they had a rototiller, and even if you don't believe in rototilling, if you're homesick and you see that, you think, oh, I know what that is, you know? And then the black tarp with the holes in it for weed control, and the tall stakes for the tall flowers. Those are all things that brought me comfort because it was familiar. And they have problems just like we do, right? So who thought you'd need caution crow signs? Crows are very prevalent, they're probably the noisiest thing in Japan. Like people are not, but the crows are pretty noisy. Let's see, we'll go right across the top. That is an assassin bug called sashigami. That's a snake in the next picture walking across our path. That was very exciting. They have bears. So when you take hikes where there are bears, you know how people wear bear bells on their little clothes or backpack? They have bear bells that are a gigantic bell. So when you get to where the bears could start being, you ring it. So it will scare the bear. Or if you see a bear, you ring it so that it scares the bear but warns people as well. The bottom is a crow again, and the next one is a spider. He's called a Joro spider. He's right there. This is my finger. So his body is about that big, and with his legs, he's way bigger than that. Coolest thing about those, they're not poisonous, but on their web, there were 7 on this one web, 7 other of the same kind. I'm like, who shares webs? I mean, who gets to eat first, right? Like they were not all gigantic. This was the biggest one. But there were others on there, and I was like, I've never seen that before, where we're sharing the web. Because I didn't think it was big enough for 7. And then the last one is the spotted lanternfly. They have that there. It came there in 2009. I did not see any there. But that's a plug for us too, to pay attention to this. If you see one of these, you may kill it. It's good to let somebody know, like you can call the Lake County Extension for Ohio State and let us know. Those are the different stages as it grows. And I think she's beautiful, right? She is a bad beautiful though. And we did not talk about bridges at all, but bridges are very common there. And again, a thing of beauty. They just make them look like you want to go on it. Yeah. Right? I did. Very lovely. So there's a few more, and if you look at what's around, you got your water, you've got your rocks, you've got your trees in all of those pictures, right? And this is a picture in the backyard of one of the castles, and it was, to me it looks like somebody saying, okay, we've got this much space. How many bridges, rocks, and trees can we put in there? But it's all, free walking all around back there. So, okay. Thank you very much. I hope you learned something.